Hello everyone, Prof Sales coming at you with a video. What is up? Prof is here in the house. Man, it is Monday, December 12th, 2016. We are rolling through December. We're rolling through the fourth quarter. It is just going to be just go, 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 right? I mean, this year is ending really quickly. So we're going to talk about that. Let me make sure that my sound is good. So if you guys can hear me okay, let me know. And so we're going to talk about that. Yeah, it sounds all right. It sounds like it came in really short. It sounds like I cut in right in the middle of it, though. Google, you got to love it. They buy YouTube and they can't get their own Hangouts right, which is just really strange in every way possible. But anyway, so yeah, so it is Monday, the start of the week. We've got 12 days, 13 days till Christmas. And, hopefully your business is going well. I'm going to share with you guys some stuff I got going on. Some updates. I do not have Karin with me today. Unfortunately, she is out of town working, and she will be back probably this weekend. But I'm going to try to hold the show down without her, with my friends here in the back. That is Gypsy Earl Events, for people who keep asking. We've covered this before, but I get like one question a month, like, who's Gypsy Earl Events? I'm like, they're right there. It's really hard to point your finger on a camera when everything's backwards. Renee says, hi from Virginia. Hey, fellow Virginian. I was from Virginia at one point, but I haven't lived there for quite a few years now. Yeah, so hopefully you guys are experiencing some great sales. It's fourth quarter, but my sales are kind of like, not great, not horrible, just sort of, And we'll talk about that a little bit too, but I want to fill you guys in on stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Sorry, I see like utility trucks outside my house and they've got digging equipment, so that's probably not a good sign. Hopefully it's not for my yard, but if it is, it is. But anyway, yeah, so we are basically trying to get through these next few weeks and get to the end of the year. So I want to talk about that, like how to handle end of year. Let me get that order right, and kind of get you guys feedback on that a little bit too. We've been making some strides with our accountants. I'm going to talk about that as well. So a couple little things. One thing today, I was looking at my eBay results and I was looking at my eBay account, and I noticed all of a sudden I had a defect. And Prof does not get defects. All right. Well, I mean, I have gotten one or two before, but I'm going, why in the world to have a defect? Well, this lady a few weeks ago ordered a pair of jeans from me, and they didn't fit. So she sent them back. Well, I got them back, and the ones that she sent back were not the ones that I sold her. And there's nothing really wrong with the one she sent me. I guess I could resell them. But I contacted her and I said, hey, you sent these jeans back, but these aren't the ones I sold you. And she said, oh, well, sorry about that. She said, I guess I mixed them up with another one. I'm not going to worry about it now. I'll take the loss. Just keep them. Don't worry about it. I'm like, you sure? I can send it back to you. And she's like, nope, it's okay. So she'd started a return, obviously, because she wanted to return them. Well, I asked her, I said, can you cancel the return? And she didn't know how to do that. So I started looking online for how to do it. And I realized there's not an easy way to cancel a return that's already been returned. I mean, I've gotten them back. It shows it's delivered in eBay system, but what I got back wasn't the correct item. So I decided to open a case to get it resolved, because that was really all I could do, because I was kind of running out of time, like on the return, and I'm not going to return her money because she didn't send back the same jean. But so I didn't really think any more about it. That was back last week, the end of last week. And then all of a sudden I wake up today and I got a defect, and it's on that. And I went, what in the world? And so I went into eBay and it said, buyer since return, you guys couldn't come to resolution. We ruled in favor of the buyer and gave them a refund from your PayPal. And I'm like, no. So I got on the phone and I called eBay, excuse me. I told them, here's what happened. And I've got correspondence from the buyer saying that they were okay with me just keeping them and not worrying about the refund, but we just didn't know how to cancel it. So they looked for a couple minutes and they said, you know what, you're right. We see the correspondence. We'll take care of it. We'll remove the defect. And I asked them, what do you do in the future if that happens? So here's what you do, guys. If you have a return that needs to be canceled after you've already received it back, you need to call eBay and let them cancel it for you. That was my only mistake. It wasn't a big mistake because I was trying to kind of automate it and not have to talk to anybody and just move on from it. But just call them and say, look, here's what happened. If you've got your documentation from the buyer saying that the refund needs to be canceled, you're good. But, it got resolved, and I guess it'll drop off in a day or so, according to what they said. But it was a little frustrating to wake up to that and just realize that, eBay has a process, but they don't research every part of what's going on with the transaction unless you bring it to their attention. And in this case, I had to bring it to their attention, or else they would have just kept me with, I would have still had a defect. And of course, defects can affect your seller rating, your fees, all that good stuff, your discounts. So moral of the story, guys, when you run into a weird situation like that, just call them. I know it's a pain in the butt, but the guy I had was super nice. He was super helpful. It didn't take long. I was on the phone 5-6 minutes. It was not long. And, I moved on and saved my seller rating. So I had that to deal with, but no biggie. All right, what else? So we've decided to go forward with our accountant starting in the new year. I think I mentioned this on the last show last week that we did. And I've got some forms and documentation I have to give him, but he is going to be handling all my journaling activities for accounting, entering transactions into the journal, producing income statements. I will have access to ask him questions and, directions on which way to go. And I'm kind of nervous about it, guys, because, I've kind of been doing this on my own. But as it's gotten a little more complex and as I changed my business structure earlier this year, I realized I don't know how to do some of this stuff. And fortunately, we can go month to month with this particular account. We don't have to sign like a 6-month contract or a year-long contract, but it's a good chunk of money. I'm not going to lie. However, I'm not going to tell you how much it is. And the only reason I'm not going to tell you how much it is because I've talked about having this particular accountant on the show if everything goes well and you guys can ask questions, but I don't want to say like a number and then you end up using him for your accounting and the number is different. I'm not getting some special discount or anything, but I don't want to say a number and then like you guys think, oh, that's what it is. Because it might be different for you given your personal situation, but it's not cheap. However, when I started researching online, how much an accountant for a small business costs and what they can provide and the type of corporation that I have and my needs for my accounting needs, it's actually a pretty good deal. So even though it's a good chunk of change, it's not something you can really skimp on too much because, I'm just kind of, taxes are the one thing, guys, that if you screw it up, you will regret it. I'm not a professional, but I can say that with certainty. If you get your taxes wrong and the IRS, you get on their radar for whatever, it's not even they're going to come arrest you, but just that they, they audit you, you owe them fines or penalties. Man, it's a pain in the butt, and they've got a lot of power, guys. I mean, they can come after your bank accounts. They can come after your property. I mean, no other bill collector can do that, but they can do that, and they don't need a warrant or anything like that necessarily. They just can do it. And you don't want to be on their bad side, I guess. I mean, they're a necessary evil, but I don't want to get myself in a situation where I get in trouble, or I owe them a ton of money. You know, I'm not really worried about it. I think that this accountant will do a great job and be able to keep me from trouble, and also reduce my tax liability. Like, there's lots of things you don't know that are tax deductible and ways that you can reduce what you owe, and it's perfectly legal, but you just don't know it because it's not your field. It's not what you do. Like, I don't get up every day worrying about, you know, reading about taxes and spending time on tax forums. I mean, for one, it's just not that exciting to me. And for two, it's not what I'm in business to do. So I'm hiring someone to do that. And, you know, just keep me on the straight and narrow. He's also going to handle my payroll, which I'm okay with as well. Right now, my payroll is me, but I will be paying myself a salary. So that's important. And you got to get that right, guys. There's rules about that. There's lots of complexities with Social Security and, you know, all the withholding and so on. I mean, you know, I know that, like, for all of us, you know, a lot of us, we get into this reselling gig, and it's kind of, you fly by the seat of your pants for a while. I mean, I've been there, but there comes a point where you start to realize that if the you know what hits the proverbial fan, you are the one that's going to be having to deal with the fallout. And it's not going to be, ignorance is not going to be an excuse, ignorance of the law, or, you know, I heard this on an internet forum and thought it was the truth. That will not fly. And, you know, the government, as much as I rail against them, they are a necessary evil, and, you know, they're going to get their pound of flesh. So your job is just to make it as amicable as you can, so that you don't, you know, end up overpaying them, or you don't get yourself in trouble, but at the same time, you keep yourself within the confines of the law and so on. And that's what you hire experts for, guys. I mean, I was just talking to somebody who got something altered at a hem shop, at an alteration shop. It was done 2 hours later, and it cost $8 to get some pants altered. They could have done it on their own, but it would have taken a couple hours on their own, and they wouldn't have done this professionally, and they don't have all the right equipment necessarily. I mean, this is what you pay people for. You pay people for their advice. You pay them not just for what they're doing, but also their expertise. I mean, you know, I could change the oil in a car, but I can't replace a transmission. You know, I don't have the tools, I don't have the knowledge. So I take it to a mechanic, and yeah, I'm going to pay a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. But this is what you pay people for, guys, is to do the things they're good at, so that you can focus on the things you're good at. You are paying them for their time and their expertise. But in any case, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to start this relationship on January 1st. I'm going to keep you guys, accounting is like a subject in the reseller community that does not get talked about enough. And I'm going to try to add some value to the conversation around that over the coming months, because I think it's an important topic. And I think it's important for a lot. It's important not just for taxes, guys, but it's also important for how you grow and ways that you can leverage and maximize, you know, the rules and regulations out there, so that you can really make great business decisions. So it's not just about tax time and all that. It's also about, you know, using what's there so that you can, you know, really grow your business in a smart way that will minimize your liability and so on. So anyway, there might have been a couple of questions in here. Let's see. Michelle had said they didn't remove the defect right away. I wouldn't trust that. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on Michelle. I mean, they said they will. I actually haven't looked in a couple hours, so maybe they did. It was this morning. Lots of people in the room. I'm not going to shout at everybody because I'm going to miss people if I try to go back. Sorry about that. But thank you for being here. And please hit the like button if you're liking this content. I appreciate it. Let's see. Hank says most quality accounting tax services are not cheap. Nope, they're not. It's just the price you pay, you know. I even looked at bookkeeping and bookkeepers, and they were cheaper, but they didn't offer the same level of expertise. They didn't offer the same services, you know, and it wasn't like it was nothing. It was still some money. The IRS is like a woman's scorn. They never forget. Yep. Hey, Prof, IRS will only do liens on large amount of money. Us small sellers, they won't. You just set up a payment plan with them. Yeah, that's true, Kathleen. But, you know, my understanding has always been with taxes is you kind of want to get to the end of the year and be even. You don't want them to owe you. You don't want to owe them. You really want to be around even because it was your money. I mean, that's one of the things that the tax preparation crowd and the CPAs get wrong is they advertise people, look what a great tax refund we can get you. All right, a tax refund, saying that someone benefits from getting a tax refund is just wrong. Think about it this way, guys. Let's say you get a $2,000 tax refund in April. You file your taxes, and let's say you wait to the end, you file in April, and you get a $2,000 tax refund. You just loaned the government $2,000 for a year, interest-free. It was your money. It was always your money. It's not like you got some special benefit that you wouldn't have been. You know, and I saw it on a forum one time. They said, if you like getting a $2,000 refund at the end of the year, tell you what, give me $4,000. I'll hang on to it for a year and you'll be twice as happy, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, you want to be even or pretty close to it. You don't want to owe them. You don't want them to owe you. But a lot of people get that backwards. Let's see. Payment plans, yeah. Small business owner doesn't need to pay for an accountant. You can do it yourself, not hard. I hear you, Kathleen, but it's not even just about it's not even just about that. It's also about what's my time worth? You know, I'm going to spend my time doing taxes, and you've been doing it for a while, so I'm sure it's not hard for you, but it would be harder for me and for lots of other people too. So I think that's the point. You know, you pay people to do things that either you can't do or you shouldn't do, or will cost you money if you do them. So, let's see. Stone Mason says, well, also you don't need to have bacon, but agree with you there. Bacon's pretty awesome. It's not too many people would disagree with that, but I guess there's a few. Let's see. Lots of tax talk in here. Yeah, that interest-free loan. Yeah, it just baffles me why people love to get a tax return. Now, there is one exception to that. If you're in certain situations where you get a lot of earned income tax credits, like the EITC, for instance, you may end up getting more money than you paid in. So then it is a benefit. And I've known some people in those circumstances before where they got thousands of dollars at the end of the year more than they paid in because they didn't really make much money and they had children. So they were able to, granted, it didn't come anywhere near to offsetting the cost of the kids, but they only paid in a couple $100s in the course of a year and got back like a $7,000 check. It was crazy. But Kathleen's going to do my taxes for me now. How much do you charge, Kathleen? Because it's not hard, as she says. See, I just nominated you to do my taxes there, Kathleen. So sorry about that. Anyway, so these are some things for the end of the year, guys. Taxes is one of them. So if you've got things that you want to, donations you want to get in this calendar year, you probably need to do that. Like if you've got items that you want to get rid of in this amount of time, you know, that can be counted towards this year, you might consider doing that in the next few weeks. Also, you know, kind of getting your taking stock of your business in general, I think, is important in this last week or two of the year, because I know you're busy and I'm busy too. We're all kind of busy right now, but you need to have a little time to reflect. And, I think that, being a reseller or entrepreneur and so on, one of the things we don't take time to do is think about, what are we doing? Is it working? Is this the best course of action? Like, we're always trying to do things and, make our business better and sell something, or we're doing the busy work of our business, whatever it is. But you've got to take some time and think about, is this approach that I'm taking, is it working? Is it working for me and whatever my goals are and what my capabilities are? And the end of the year is probably as good a time as any, not because of New Year's resolutions and all that, because people, they don't often keep those, but it's a good time to kind of reflect back. The fourth quarter's ending right at the end of December, and it's a good time to kind of get yourself prepared for what's coming next in the next year. But, I think for me, I've been thinking about it a lot. And obviously I've got a lot of, excuse me one second. Sorry, I got a little congestion today. I've been thinking a lot about what's, what makes sense for me going forward the next year. I got a lot of irons in the fire. And I've got to put a little time and thought into, what really is my business. Because I think I mentioned the other day, somebody said, somebody referred to me as the gene guy or something like that, which was fine. But I don't really think of myself as just that. And I've been reading, some books lately that have been challenging me to reevaluate how I approach all this and what my ultimate goals are. So I'm kind of coming up with sort of a plan for the big areas of my life and what they're going to look like going forward. And I think the end of the year is a good time to do that. But, you've all got to do what you feel is right for you and your business. But if you think about what's important to us in business and life, I think you can break it down into areas. There's obviously financial. There's your mental state of mind. There's your emotional intelligence and how self-aware you are. There's a spiritual aspect if you are spiritual or person of faith. And then there's, your relationships that you have with your significant other, maybe your children, your family, your coworkers, if you're still working, your whoever, even your customers to some degree. And I would just say that you've got to take some time to take stock of those areas. And your business is part of that, but it's not the only part. And I've said it a million times, and I'll just keep saying it because I think it's worth saying a million times, is that if you're struggling with your finances, it's going to cascade over into your family relationships or your emotional state or your spiritual state or your relationships with your friends. If you're struggling in one of those areas, it's going to have an effect in the other areas. You can't just, you're not a robot. Most of us can't just shut off. If there's chaos outside the door, there's a fire outside the door, we can't just hide in the room and hope it all goes away. You've got to deal with it. So if you're not meeting your goals, if you're not feeling fulfilled by your business in terms, bringing it back to business for a moment, you got to change something. And you can either change your mental approach, which I think that's actually the hardest one for a lot of us because we get really set in our ways. You can change your tactics. Maybe you can pivot your business to a different platform, a different type of sourcing, a different type of model completely. But you've got to think about changing if you're not getting what you want. The definition of insanity is keep doing it and getting the same results, right? And thinking you'll get different results. Change. this is the time. I mean, there is no tomorrow really. It's now. It's right now. And the end of the year is a great year to kind of take stock of that and look back at where you started and how far you've come. And for a lot of us, I mean, you know, I've come a long ways in the last year. I feel like I got a lot further to go than I've come, but I'm happy with the progress, but I'm not settling. I'm not settling for my results. I'm not settling. I'm going to look back at these results and think eventually one day those were mediocre compared to where I'm at now. You know, I think we all want that, but you've absolutely got to find ways to improve, guys. There's no stuck in neutral, really. I mean, well, not stuck in neutral. There's no being neutral. There's no maintaining the status quo. Not progressing, you are falling behind. You just don't know it yet. So I guess for this end of year, I would say really take a half a day. You know, I don't know what it takes for you, whatever it is, and take stock of everything. Write some things down. Write down where you started this year at, where you're at now, where you'd like to be, and then maybe, you know, flesh out how you're going to get there. Is it going to require more of what you're doing? Is it going to require less of what you're doing in some areas? Is it going to require you to go in a totally different direction? You know, you take your business somewhere differently. You say, you know what? I've been selling eBay, but it's just not cutting it for me. I need to pop out a lot more volume, so I'm going to focus on Amazon FBA. That's great. You've identified a problem and you've come up with a solution. Now you've got to implement it. So now you got to think, all right, how am I going to implement it? What's that going to look like? And writing it down, guys, is so key. I'm going to share mine with you guys as I come up with it over the next couple of weeks. So if you're watching this show a week from now and I still haven't shared it, hold me accountable. So, because remember that I said that, because I think it's important. And I've been guilty for a lot of years of not doing that. And it's a mistake. You know, it's not even necessarily goals. It can just be that this is what I'm going to focus on this year. And yeah, I'm going to get results, but I'm going to focus on the process. I'm going to focus on me. You know, I'm going to focus on the people around me. It's all people, process, and products, right? And that's going to lead to results. It's not so much getting the results as the goal. It's the other things that go into getting the results. But write it down and revisit it every week, every month. I don't know what your time frame needs to be, but and you might need to change some things. That's okay. There's not like the way to do this, as some resellers tend to think. You got to do it this way or you won't be successful. That drives me nuts, by the way, is on a side note, when people act like that. Like it's got to be this way. There is no this way. There's just ways. And they all have different degrees of success and so on. But write it down. Revisit it. Revisit it frequently. Write it down. Be specific. Like your overall strategy or strategies can be a little vaguer because they're going to be by definition. But then the tactics that you're going to, you know, maybe you have like a goal of saying, all right, I want to be at, let's say, 1,000 listings by the end of January because you think that's going to give you better results. Okay, great. How are you going to do that? Well, in your tactics section, you're going to have, all right, well, how am I going to source enough to get that? All right, then I got to have photos done. I got to get listings done. How am I going to do that? What's it going to take in terms of resources? What's going to take in terms of capital? You know, are you going to need more supplies for the increase in sales maybe you'll get from that? You know, those are sort of the tactics and things you need to do to make it happen. And then give yourself achievable targets and say, all right, well, you know, tomorrow I'm going to do this. And you're not going to do all of it tomorrow because you can't get it all done in one day. But you're going to do this, and you're going to say, all right, the next day I'm going to do that. I've been reading The 4-Hour Workweek lately, and Tim Ferriss's book. If you guys haven't read it, it's a great book. Tremendous. I mean, there's so much wisdom in that book, you know, even if you're not even a reseller. I mean, there's a lot of wisdom. But, you know, he talks about most people try to get too much done in like one day. Whereas if they just narrowed their focus down to 2 or 3 things that are important, really important, maybe just one thing, and really focus on that instead of trying to get a bunch of things done and just looking or feeling busy. And I was like, man, when he wrote that, and I'm paraphrasing, when he wrote that, it hit me like a thunderbolt. I'm going, oh my gosh, that's so me. I do things every day just to look busy to myself. It's not to anybody else. You know, Karin is here, but it's really just to feel good about myself. I'm just like, man, so I can feel busy that I did this and this and this, but did those things really further my goals? Oh, wait, I don't have my goals delineated and written out, you know, in a very succinct fashion, you know? Well, how do I know? Oh, I don't know. And I was like, man, that just really struck me. And I'm like, I've got to get a hold of that. I've got to get a hold of that. And I'm going to do that. You know, I think I'm going to take that advice and say, you know, I'm going to focus on like one thing a day that I'm going to get done that's critically important. And, you know, I don't know how it'll go. I mean, it's going to take me having to retrain myself. But that's okay. You know, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you can. If you want it, you can learn, you can change, you can evolve. You absolutely can. So you don't really have an excuse other than yourself. I mean, you're the bottleneck. If you're not evolving in your business and you're not growing and you're not going the direction you want, you've got to look in the mirror because it is you. that is the issue. You've got to figure out how to do it. No one else can but you. I can't figure it out for you. I can tell you things till I'm blue in the face, but so can Tim Ferriss or anybody. But if you don't go and do them, what difference does it make? So it really, you know, guys, when you think about this end of year, I'm encouraging all of you and myself more than any of you, honestly, come up with what this next year is going to look like in broad terms, and then specific strategies and more, you know, down below each one, and write it down. Keep it somewhere you can see it every day. Come up with I don't know if you need to do a daily plan, a weekly plan. It's not about writing the things down is not the accomplishment. Writing things down just reinforces it in your brain and holds you accountable, because you got to have like a check-in with yourself and say, all right, well, I wrote down today that I was going to, no matter what else happened today, no matter what distractions came my way or who said this or who did that, no matter how many emails I got from frustrated buyers or bogus returns or whatever, I was going to list 25 items today. Well, did you do it? Because if you didn't, then you didn't hit your target. And you need to examine, well, why didn't I do it? Well, I got diverted over here. I got diverted over there. You know, that's what happens to us. We start out with the best of intentions. And Karin and I are taking this another step forward, or another step even further. And it goes into something Ferriss said in the book, but we'd already talked about it. And when she gets back, we're going to do this. We're going to take Monday through Friday. If you guys want to do this with us, do it. I think it'd be fun. We're going to take Monday through Friday, and we are going to shut off all social media, all television, especially during the workday, maybe completely, any apps or games or internet sites or anything that's not related 100% to business. We're not getting on it. We're not doing it. I'm not going to be on Facebook. I'm not going to play any games on my iPad. I'm not going to anybody unless I just absolutely have to, unless it's just mission critical. And we're going to come up with a schedule for that week, what we're going to focus on, and see what we can get done with a full week without all that nonsense, that noise in the background that we spend so much time and energy on that gets us nothing, and see what we can get done. I think we're going to be amazed. I think we're going to be amazed at it. And, you know, if any guys want to join us with it, I think we'll probably start it when she gets back, although it might be in 2 weeks. But we're going to try to do it Monday through Friday. Just see where it gets us. see if we can get it all done, and cut out the distractions, guys. I mean, because when I add up the amount of time we spend on all that nonsense, my business could probably grow 50%, if I'd put that back into the business. And I'm like, man, that's a lot. It's a lot. And Ferris has some good tips for that in that book about, there's even some apps you can go out there and tell your computer to shut off certain websites for a period of time so that you literally cannot go on them unless you reboot the computer, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you need to go that far, but maybe some of you do. Like, you just shut off whatever your distractions are. But we're going to try it and see what we can get accomplished. Like, I think that we're spending a lot more time and energy on that stuff than we probably think we are. And I bet some of you are as well. It's, man, the modern society with the distractions. I'm going to tell you right now, we're all in the wrong business, guys. Whoever can fix people from having this issue right here, that's who's going to make a killing. Because the amount of people I see walking around like this every day is just staggering. They're going to have like necks that permanently stay in that position. But it's just crazy how much time we spend on all this nonsense. So we're going to try to do that when she gets back. And Stone says, yeah, if you had a regular job, you wouldn't have all the distracting crap. Yeah, but I think a lot of people even do it at work now, Stone. So I don't think it's just that. But it's definitely a big set of distractions and time wasters that don't really get you anything. Let's see what else there are people. YouTube's my biggest distraction. Yeah, tell me about it, Chicago. No personal crap, social media for business. Yep, and thumb surgery. I know, right? It's crazy. It's just crazy how much it is. All right, well, listen, guys, enough of that. I'm going to show you results from the past few days. So do a screen share. And 1 second, let me pull this up. All right, let's see. So here is, all right, so there's today. So there's Friday's results. I only sold 8 on Friday, 181. The same total on Saturday, also 8 for 219. Sunday was a little better with 10 at 228. Kind of a slower weekend. Like, those are okay numbers, but they're not great numbers. So, I don't know. We go in the month so far, we're looking at about 2,500 for December, and the net so far of about 1,000, which is okay. And the total so far, I actually went in here and updated July because I realized I didn't have the sales from July in here. Like, I had how many I'd sold. But, one thing I found interesting on that too, guys, and it's kind of probably the way I probably put it in, but when I printed off my eBay sold listings, I noticed I had one more sold on the list than I'd actually entered on my spreadsheet. So instead of 48, I'd sold 49 that month. And I put that in, put in the gross. So not a bad idea sometimes to check your sales on eBay versus what you track. I did find it was off. And anyway. So yeah, I know about the spreadsheet, you guys. But prof math, here we go. Let me see if I got the graphs up. I don't even know if they're up. I'm slacking. Let's see if this has got the right amount of data on it. Probably not. 60. Yeah, it's pretty good. And so the last few days have been down a little bit. So not the greatest numbers right there. So kind of entering a little drop below the 300 mark. Part of it's because, honestly, have not been listing like we should. We spent a lot of time last week trying to fix the right. Oh, wow, that suddenly got really weird. What in the world is going on with my listings all of a sudden? This is really weird. Okay, I got to see what's going on with these graphs because this is clearly not right. Something got totally changed around here, and I'm going to have to look at it. But this looks actually still right, and so does this. But these other ones are whack. Anyway, so that's the graphs. All right, and we are back. Hopefully that made sense. If it didn't, just replay and watch it again. Any questions here? Karen is not home. She may be watching, but I kind of doubt. She's actually working right during the day today, so I doubt she's listening right now, guys. It's possible, but I kind of doubt it. I haven't heard from her. Michelle says, that looks so detailed. I need that in my life. Yeah, I'm working on a spreadsheet. Same, I like to compare my data versus eBay. Yeah, it's interesting because I will print off, I don't know if I still have it here. Oh yeah, it's kind of balled up, but so what I do to kind of show you guys is you can go in and you can do sales reports. But basically what I do is I go in and I pull off from the file exchange, I pull off the solds for, say, November. Although this one's not November, it's actually July. But they only keep records back for 90 days, so you can't get them in this particular type of report. But basically what I'll do is I'll go in there and I'll pull down the file exchange. It comes down in Excel format, and it's got a lot of extra columns in it, guys. I just get rid of those, like columns like your buyer's address and email and all this extra crap. Feedback, was it received? Was it positive? I get rid of those and I just get it down to like, see if you guys can see it here. I just get it down to basically the item title, price, the total price, because that includes shipping. The sale date is you need to, and paid on date I usually keep, and then whatever my custom label was. So what I do is, like, this has got a custom label of 2083 move one. This was a DVD, for instance. So I will go down my sheet of that I've sold that month, and I will look for item number 2083, and it should be right in date order because this is sorted in date order, like July 11th, 12th, 13th, whatever. And I will find 2083 and make sure that I put in the correct total and make sure that I didn't even have it listed, and then I just check it off over there. And I usually do this at the end of the month. It's a little bit tedious, to be honest with you. I need to figure out a better way to do this, like to automate it so I don't have to go through and check it. But what I've found is quite often I've missed sales when I've copied stuff over from a spreadsheet for whatever reason. They're on here, but they're not in my records. So technically, if I don't have them on my record, I'm not showing that I actually got that income when in fact I did. So it's kind of important that you need to know, how much income you actually brought in. If you missed a big sale on one of those, which is possible, let's say you sold something for $1,000 one month, and then you didn't have it listed in your records, and you report that you made $1,000 less that month, you've got some tax liability there, right? So it's important to get that right. And eBay allows you to pull that number off and their actual sales. But I found too on eBay, they have put things on this list that actually got canceled sometimes. It's just a way to check for errors. And if you ever want to find it, I could do a video on it, but it's not really that hard. It's the file exchange. Go in there. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can figure out reports. You generate a report for a period, and sometimes it takes a few minutes to come down depending on how many transactions you got. But you can only go like 90 days back with that particular one. There's another one, Sales Reports Plus, which I think allows you to go back even further. But I just like this one because it's nice because it fits right in Excel. It comes down, it downloads right like that, and you can just go in and manipulate it, use it however you want. Let's see here. Any other questions or comments? Spreadsheets are not that hard to make. That's true, Renee. I agree with that. They're not that hard to make, but man, are they hard to get perfect. I'll let you know if I ever get one perfect. Let's see. He sucked at Excel and started to think about what he wanted to track, and then Googled the formulas. And after about a week, he has a spreadsheet that's got about 8 tabs and got good ideas from here. Nice. Awesome, John. That's cool, man. That's pretty much how I did it. It's not like I took some course on Excel. I just figured it out over time. The funny thing is with spreadsheets, guys, and I've said this before, is it's easier to put more stuff in them than you need than to have only what you need. it's harder to just cut away all the fat and have only what you need and nothing else. And it's like a never-ending battle to figure that out. So you will probably find if you create your own spreadsheet that at first you'll start tracking things or having things on it, and then you realize, I don't really need that. I mean, that happened to me, and I was like, I mean, I've deleted things and moved them back around and reconfigured them numerous times. And I think that's just part of it. And there's lots of great Excel classes online. There's one I like. It's called, let me see if I can pull it up for you guys real quick. I'll try to put a link to it. There's a channel that I like, and it's a guy who he teaches Excel in a classroom setting. Yeah, I'll post the link in the chat. Well, I don't know if I can really post it in the chat because I'm not on the right screen. It's called Excel's Fun. Excel's Fun. Let's see if I can type this in the chat. Excel's. It's got like a strange spelling of it. Excel's Fun. So if you Google that, or if you search for that on YouTube, you'll find him. He goes into like ridiculous detail on every possible topic you can imagine Excel. And a lot of the spreadsheets are a little more advanced, but he does have a kind of a more beginner section too. You just gotta sit through it. But anyway, you just basically want to always have tools that'll teach you, or track what you need them to track, and you can get your hands on the information. That's part of the reason I'm going to an accountant, because, an accountant, they will track the financial information that you need for your business. I mean, could I do it on my own? I absolutely could to some degree, but man, it would take me a while and have yet another learning curve. And I'm always going to be unsure about certain things because I don't have the experience of doing this for a bunch of other people. I only have the experience of me. So I'd always be a little uneasy about it. So I just decided to take the plunge. And if it doesn't work out, I can always stop using them. So there's really no huge downside to it. But that's what you pay people for. Ferriss's book on the 4-Hour Work Week is great. And then it talks about outsourcing more and more of your life to virtual assistants, which is kind of an interesting idea. And, depending on what you're doing, I don't know why we do this, guys. Like, why do we always put, every time we need something and we want to go get something, we put it in terms of cost? Like we always say, if we get an accountant, it's going to cost this. If we get an assistant, it's going to cost this. If we hire an employee, it's going to cost that. Why do we never start out the conversation with, it's going to benefit us by, right? I mean, that's why you spend money on something, or you hire someone because you think there's going to be a benefit, right? I mean, I'm going to go get a haircut later. I'm going to go spend probably $15, $16, whatever, to get a haircut. Could I learn to cut my own hair? Sure, but I don't want to. Like, that cost me time I could be doing something else. The benefit is I don't have to spend the time to figure out how to cut hair. I can go find someone that can do it for a fee. Why do we never talk about it that way, though? Or we usually don't. We don't say, like, I'm going to spend this money and it's going to benefit me by. Instead, we think, oh, it's just going to cost me. I mean, there's another side to that, right? I don't know. It kind of drives me nuts when I hear that, because the world isn't set up that way. I mean, you go and you spend money on groceries because it benefits you by having food to eat, which is kind of a necessary thing for the human condition. I mean, could you grow your own food? Maybe, depending on where you live and how much space you got. But it's just, you're okay with spending the money to get a benefit and that you can get the food you want without having to take the time and trouble to grow it. I don't know. I mean, I just think you always have to keep whatever you're doing for your business or your life in that perspective, that there's a benefit, there should be a benefit to when you spend money for something, it's not just a cost. It's just not cash going out of your pocket. You're getting something back. That's why you spend money on an account. Stone says $15 for a haircut a month versus $30 for good clippers. Yeah, I know, but you've never seen the way I cut hair, Stone. It'd be I don't know what I'd have going on up here. It'd be scary. Will says, what point do you think you should talk to someone? Are you asking about like an accountant, Will? I'm not sure what you're asking about, like a psychologist. I'm not sure what you're asking there. Hank says, everything has an opportunity cost. It's all a matter of benefit given up and benefit gained. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, when you give up money for something, you're hoping to get a benefit back. And that doesn't mean you should just go out and spend, but you know, what's the opportunity cost of learning to cut your own hair versus getting somebody else to do it? To me, I'm paying for the convenience of having someone else who knows how to do it, you know, and can do it quickly and hopefully effectively, versus me learning to do it on my own. It's not even about buying the equipment. It's about, you know, the time. I don't want to take the time to learn to cut hair. It's just not even remotely interesting to me. Will was asking about the accountant. Yeah, that's a great question. Will asked, what point do you think you should talk to someone? You can talk to most any accountant, Will, and they will do an initial consultation. Most of them will do an initial consultation for free. So it's not a bad idea. Like once you believe that your business is to me, this is what I would do. Once you think your business, the way you're running it, the structure you have for it, whatever that looks like, and I don't know what your structure is, but once you believe that you're going to start incurring some serious tax liability potentially. Now, serious is a subjective word, right? I mean, it means something different to all of us. Once you believe that the minutia of entering transactions and categorizing them is costing you money in other areas, like there's an opportunity cost. Like if you're taking the time to enter all those transactions or bring them in somehow, if there's a lot of them, that's costing you time and energy you could be using somewhere else. Once you believe that the right person can potentially help you find ways to save costs, to save at tax time, and to grow your business in a smart way that keeps you within the confines of the law, as well as shows you ways that you could plan for tax time or even have an employee. I mean, if you're thinking about an employee to add value to your business, I think all those reasons, all those times are definitely times you should probably at least consider talking to someone. And what's your hour worth, Will? What's your hour worth? Because let's say your accountant spends, I don't know how much time, somebody in here was a CP or a tax preparer. Let's say your accountant spends 4 hours a month on your business, right? And let's say your time is worth $50 an hour. If your accountant charges you $200 a month for that, you're basically breaking even. If they charge you $300, you're not breaking even, but you're getting the benefit of their experience. Like, it's not just the work they're doing, it's also the expertise and knowledge they bring to the table if you have access to them. Now, if you can't get access to them or they're always busy, that's another story. But if you can email your accountant or text them a message or call them and say, hey, I need to know about this. I'm thinking about bringing on an employee. What are my options here? What would you suggest in this situation from a tax preparation standpoint, for instance, or an accounting standpoint? If you can do that with your accountant, that's worth something, because then you're not having to go ask Joe Reseller what his opinion is or asking PROF Sales, because I'm not an expert. Paying that person not just for what they do, you're also paying them for what they know. And what they know is actually far more valuable than what they do. And that's the problem sometimes you get in with, like what I read, say like a bookkeeper. There are bookkeepers out there who know tons about the tax laws and tons about business and so on. But then there's others who are just entering data. They're, compiling it for the books, the journal entries, and so on. That's not maybe bringing the same level of knowledge and expertise. And then there's a lot of people in between those two extremes, right? If you can find someone, accountant, bookkeeper, whoever it is, who's got that knowledge and can do the work, and for a price that your business can afford, if you can see the value beyond the work to also the knowledge, that's when you bring them in. And I'm sorry that's kind of a longer answer, but I think it is a long answer. I don't think there's a short answer to that question. So hopefully that answers your question. When is your book coming out? I want to buy a copy. Yeah, I know, right? Write a book. Most people don't use the time saved to increase their business. They use it to goof off. Yeah, that's a great point, Greener. And that comes back to your mindset. If you don't have a mindset of, you always have to be evolving your mindset too, not just what you do, but also how you think. And I think that's important and something that I sometimes lose sight of. In the moment, I think, one of the things that Ferris was talking about in that book that was great, he said that a lot of people will shy away from doing the impossible seeming task. He said, what's funny is sometimes it's easier to do the seemingly impossible than to do the mundane. And his point was there was a lot more competition for the mediocre goals that are out there in life. He gave an example of raising money. You would think on the face of it, it's harder to raise $1 million than it is to raise 100,000. But I think his point was that when we're given a really difficult goal or a seemingly impossible goal to meet, we go after it. We're focused. We're determined. We're going to give it our best shot. If you've a lot of people, you're really going to go after it and say, I'm going to see how close I can get to this damn thing, even if I don't quite make it. But when you're given a goal, if I told you, when Karin and I, when we did the 100 listings in a day last month, we were focused. We were ready. We're we're going to do this. I'm going to stop until it's done. I don't care how many hours it takes. But I have more trouble some days getting motivated to do 5 listings than I did to do the 100. That is dead in line with Tim Ferriss's point in the book, that the average goals are the ones that are a lot of times harder for us to meet. Again, that was another lightning bolt from the blue. And I went, man, that is so true. When you think it's easy and you could do it in your sleep, that's usually when you don't do it. You slack off and say, I can put that off till 9 o'clock tonight and then take care of it. But when you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to give tomorrow, I'm going to list 50 items. I'm going to give tomorrow, I'm going to hit 12 stores. I'm going to go to 20 yard sales, whatever it is. That's when you get motivated and fired up. And you're because you got a big task in front of you. So it was truly a great point in the book. And I'm definitely going to do a book review of that book for you guys. But man, it's going to be a tough one to do because there's so much in there. It's hard to pick and choose. And I haven't gotten to the end of it yet anyway. So is the show over or just starting? What time zone are you in, Krillin? It's 2 o'clock Eastern. Almost over, I know, right? Stone says it sounds like combat wisdom. Yeah, it might be. I've never been in the military, but maybe that's it. You've got to kind of have that gung-ho mentality about this stuff. And sometimes the only way to do that is to put a seemingly impossible goal in front of yourself, or just a really difficult one, because it focuses you. It's like the little things. Think about it this way, guys. You get in your car and you've got to drive down the interstate 10 miles to such and such place. You might be looking at your phone. You got the radio on. You're talking to somebody in the seat beside you. You're not usually 100% focused in on the road, right? I find myself struggling to do that. I'm sure we all have. You've done it a million times. You're like, I got this, no big deal. On the other hand, let's say I put you behind the wheel of a stock car in a NASCAR race, and you're going to be doing 180, 190, 200 miles an hour down the Daytona Speedway. I promise you are going to be very focused, because the cost of not completing the task could be very serious, and you know that it requires a lot of concentration to do it correctly. It's a bigger goal. It's a bigger task. It's seemingly insurmountable. It's difficult. It fits right in with the point of the book. Just that the everyday are the things that we tend to not want to do, or we put off, and we just figure, no big deal, I can do it whenever. But when we give ourselves a stretch goal, it's amazing how far we can really go if we really put our mind to it. When we think that the goal is going to be difficult or even impossible, we can really surprise ourselves. So I thought it was a great point he made in the book. Hyper-focused. Yeah, the other day you were at 4, the other day you weren't on and on. Oh, right, Krillin, whatever, sue me. I need to put out like a strategy for January, or a calendar for January, saying this is when Prof's going to be on. But I know the second I do that, there will be things that come up that I can't make it. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, look, I think that is going to do it for now. It's about 3:01. I've been talking a ton today, and I did it even without Car in here. That's amazing. So I guess my takeaway from the show, guys, the biggest thing would be to prepare for 2017. Get yourself set up. Take some time to think about what went well in 2016, what you want to do differently in 2017. Come up with your overall strategies and then tactics down below those, how you're going to get to it, and write it down. Make yourself accountable. Have a regular check-in, whether it's daily or weekly or monthly or all the above, and try to get at least one important thing done every single day. One thing you say, if I get nothing else done today, I'm getting this done. And be sure to give yourself a stretch goal that you think, I'm only doing $3,000 a month, but if I could source another 200 items this month, I could get to 4,000. But man, I've never done that much. Stretch, go after it, and come up with the tactics to get there. So I would say all those things. Prof gonna need a lawyer and an accountant. Yeah, apparently. Yeah, I'm gonna get sued for not meeting my time windows. Anyway, please hit the like button before you leave, guys, too, if you like the content. I didn't really have a tremendous agenda for this show, but I actually think it turned out pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with it. And I hope you guys are too. I hope you got something out of it. I'm learning that I do these shows for you guys and not for myself, and I do get a lot of satisfaction out of it. So I guess it's for myself too in some ways, but I really do hope that you got something out of it and you can take something from it. And let me know about it. Leave me a comment. Leave me a question. Still trying to answer them all best I can. And consider subscribing so that you can get the videos whenever they come out and get a notification that, hey, Prof's getting ready to go live on the air, and I can get in and, we can have a little chat. And a priest is pretty funny. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for today. Take care. I hope you guys go out there and kill it today. Start thinking about 2017. It is right around the corner. We're going to kill in 2017, all of us, but it all starts up here before it can start. It can go to here, okay? All right, so that's going to do it for now. I'm going to see you guys really soon, and this is the Prof saying good sales to you.